guys, welcome to the Money-ish Show. And on this episode, we have a really cool guest all the way from Greenville, South Carolina. Greenville is one of the coolest cities that I've ever been to. If you haven't been there, you should go. Hunter came out here, and Hunter just had a massive exit. We're going to talk about the exit of how he exited his company, but how he started as a fireman. And this is one of those incredible stories that so many entrepreneurs are trying to have or have right now. We're going to break it down with him, how he started as a fireman, sold a company, and has 3 other companies right now that he's working on. I'll wrap it up really quick by saying he owns roofing.com. If you know anything about business and domains, that should tell you something about his business mind right now. So on that note, Hunter, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciative to be on. Come out here to Salt Lake area, one of my favorite spots in the country.
It's we talked about earlier, I'm from Georgia. We probably live like 3 hours apart, probably from each other. Yeah. And in Georgia, you guys talk about the mountains and like you got the North Georgia, Gatlinburg, you got Tennessee. And then when you come out here to see the mountains, it's like a totally different, like, what the heck is that thing compared to the mountains we have?
Well, there's just no trees. Like compared to where we're at, you can't even see the mountains because it's all trees.
It's all green.
But I love it out here because it's so clean.
Yeah.
It's a little business hub. There's tons of great businesses and startups. I mean, we were just talking about several before the show. So I'm thankful for you bringing me out here, brother. Yeah,
it's a cool area. Now, on that note, were you born and raised in Greenville?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just north of Greenville, a little town called Travelers Rest.
Okay.
It was real small when I was growing up, just a couple thousand people. Now it's just a thriving metropolis. I think we got like 5,000 people there now.
Just exploding, really.
Yeah, exploding.
Amazon moved there?
We kept getting, we actually have an Amazon. We have GE, we have Michelin, a bunch of big companies. BMW's out of Greenville. We kept getting voted like best small town in America.
Yeah.
And so I left in 2009 to go to the Marine Corps, and it's like just this dead downtown, just like an old Western. And then I come back, and it's just restaurants everywhere and everything is gentrified, and it's crazy.
Yeah, Greenville has that small town, big town kind of vibe.
Yeah, got everything you need, but not too busy.
But not so overpopulated that traffic is shutting you down for 2.5 hours like Atlanta is. Driving back and forth. I know you went to the Marine Corps. You got out. You went and joined the fire department. Yeah. Was that in Greenville?
Yeah, so North Greenville, up there towards Travelers.
So you joined the fire department, and to pick up the story from there of what made you join the fire department, and then to kind of get us into the point where you were starting to sell stuff and so forth.
Yeah, man. So just always wanted to serve people. I think from a young age, just wanted to serve people. I enjoyed that, giving back to the community. And so the fire service was just one of those ways I could do it. I looked at it, and growing up, you hear about police officers, the military. I was already in the Marine Corps, the fire service, EMS, and it was just a way for me to serve, a way for me to give back. And if I'm being honest, probably as a young kid, just like a way to feel fulfilled and feel wanted, because you feel like you are in that hero state. So joined the fire department, went and did all the training. I was really blessed, man. There was a lot of people out there looking for a job, and just with my background in the Marine Corps and being fresh and in shape, I picked up a job really quick. I finished my training at the State Fire Academy December of 2010.
Okay.
Picked up a job. I started Valentine's Day of 2011, started my career there. Within 2 years, I went and got my EMT, and then moved on to a bigger fire department, actually in Greenville City, so the real metropolis. I thought I was moving up. I think I started at like $24,000, man, at the smaller fire department. And when I moved to the big one, after getting my EMT and doing all this training and pouring my heart and soul into it, and I'm not a super smart guy, man. I tell people all the time I finished like 189 out of 212 in high school. I was just trying to get through and get to the Marine Corps. Wasn't a real smart guy. And so I put in all this work to get this big raise. And when I went to the city, I got a raise to $34,000. Yeah. So big jump there.
Crushing it.
Yeah, man.
Did you know there was going to be about that much a raise?
Yeah.
Cause I think most of them have it kind of laid out. That step work there. Unique question, man. I just thought about it. Like, you got any thoughts? Because I know the way that kind of we grew up, we're close to the same age, but the way they kind of grew up, again, firemen, police departments, EMTs were looked at as complete heroes and complete like badasses, right? Like doing so much good to keep the community together. It seems like now, like in the community culture we're growing up in now, it's like the kids have this like negative look on that group, and it drives me freaking bonkers. Yeah. But you have any thoughts on it? Actually, being a fireman, coming from that world.
Yeah, man. So be real tactful because I don't want to get mad
Political,
talking
okay.
about it. It is frustrating, man. You see these incidents happen, and some justified, some not justified. But I would say that 99% of the cases we see when something goes down and the officer, the firefighter, whoever it was in the wrong, they didn't go to work that day expecting for that to happen. They're going doing their job, and oftentimes we see that person in that situation that's getting crucified by the media and by the public is a guy that's been on the job for 25 years. They're within 3, 4, 5 years of retiring. Do you think they went through their career on the line and their life on the line to make a bad move? They didn't. It's just, you don't know what it's like until you're in that moment. I've had some of those where, you've got someone that's maybe already passed away and you're performing CPR and you're trying to get them back. I've had someone where they were alive when I got there and when I left they weren't. And that wears on you, man. You think, if you're somebody like us and somebody like the people watching this show, you're really driven, you're an alpha, you want to be the best you can be, you're always analyzing.
Mm-hmm.
You listen to Kobe and Michael Jordan and some of those guys, they talk about watching film and how you got to go back and watch the film of the games you lost more than the ones you won because you got to figure out what to change in your game plan and how to get better. And so you just think through those things and what could I have done better. And some of those things, when it's life or death, they wear on you.
Yeah, dude, they definitely come back and eat. And I remember, I know watching those those videos, like you see someone, they come out with it's the police cam, or and some of that stuff happens so freaking fast.
Yeah.
It's like split decisions. So it's always, to me, it's always easy to pay Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
I would have done this or I'd done this, but it's totally different. Like when you're in that moment and it happens so fast. Anyway, so I thought about it when you talk about the fire department, not the direction I'm going to go with it, but I wish we could go back more towards where the fire departments and EMTs and police are more hero-based.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of value in the fabric of a community.
There is.
When there is that respect. They're right or wrong. I'm not saying that they're always right, but I'm saying it seems like the respect of it is going downhill, and it bothers me. But go back. So you're in this fire department, and I know firemen have a unique schedule.
Yeah.
It's not your typical 9 to 5 schedule, and good and bad to it. But one of the good things is you have a little bit more free, not more free time, but free time's in a chunk, let's call it,
Yeah.
right? Because you're still working the 40, 50 hours. And in that moment, you find yourself starting to flip random stuff,
Yeah.
looking to make some money flipping. What was driving you to go flip?
Yeah, man. So the schedule, just to elaborate a little more, is 24 hours on. So you
Yeah.
go in at 7 o'clock in the morning, you get off at 7 the next morning. So then I'd have 48 hours off. So 1 day on, 2 days off. If I took one shift off, I'd have 5 days in a row. And so $24,000 isn't going to cut it, right? I
Right.
always wanted to do something on my own from a young age. I'd been entrepreneurial. I mean, literally to the point where I'd go down to this old dump from back in the 50s, 40s, I don't know what it was, but this old dump that was less than a mile from my house, and I'd dig through and I'd find these, they were the insulators that would go on top of light poles back
Okay.
in the day, and I'd take them. My grandpa would take me to the local jockey lot, the flea market, let me sell them, and I always jokingly say, like, I don't really know that people wanted them or they just bought them for me because I was a cute 6-year-old, I was slinging warheads, selling airheads, all that good stuff
Yeah.
in school, just always entrepreneurial, wanted to make money for myself. I certainly wasn't dirt poor. I'm thankful for what I had. I always had a roof over my head. Great grandparents. My parents did what they could. But I knew that I wanted a different life. There's a exact spot in the road that I lived on as a dead end road, a curve going uphill. I remember to this day, and I show people sometimes when they come into town to see me. I remember stopping in the middle of that road, walking home from the school bus where they dropped me off on the end of the dead end road and saying my life is going to be different. And I was in middle school. I was probably in 7th grade at that point, and just saying my life is going to be different. And so from that point, I just knew. I didn't know how. Telling one of the guys here earlier, like I knew when I left high school, my way out was the military. I didn't want to go to college. I wasn't a college guy. I just barely skated through high school. I knew the military was my way out. So after that, and getting into the fire department, $24,000 wasn't going to cut it. It wasn't going to make me a millionaire by 30. That was this big, audacious goal that I had. And so flipping was the way I found it. I found it by chance, man. It was actually, I was doing the wrong thing to figure it out. My partner at the fire department at the time had gone out and got this loan to buy a 4-wheeler.
Uh-huh.
And of course he had to have nice rims and tires to go on this 4-wheeler too, and it had stock wheels and tires on it. And so I was like, well, man, if he's going to get one, I got to get one, right?
Okay.
We're partners. We lived in a single wide trailer together, paying like $500 a month, splitting that. So we lived together at the fire department for 24 hours, and then we'd go home and live together for 48 hours, together all the time. And so I'm like, man, if he's going to get one, I got to get one. So I go to the bank. I'm like, hey, I got this job now. Can I get a loan? So they give me a loan. I go buy this four-wheeler, and I've got, I don't remember, I think it was like $2,000, $3,000 extra from this loan. And so I go to see a family member at the hospital. I have my two younger brothers with me, Connor and Gavin. On the way back from the hospital, I see this Spanish guy driving beside me, and it's this ugly, beat-up purple Ford Taurus. I think it was a 2000 Ford Taurus, maybe a 99. And on the back, it said for sale. It was one of those, chalk markers, and it said $1,000. And so I'm like waving the dude down. I'm like, pull over, pull over. So he pulls over in this church parking lot. I'll never forget it, when I'm leaving the fire, or when I'm leaving the hospital. And so I'm acting like a big shot because I got a couple $1,000 in the bank. Never had a couple $1,000 in the bank. And so I'm like, hey man, you want $1,000 for this car? So I'm negotiating with him, whatever. It might have actually been $1,500, and I got him down to $1,000. I just know I bought the car for $1,000, and said, all right, well, surely $1,000. Like, it's a running car. I can flip it, make $500. Well, I didn't. I didn't make any money on my first car. Actually, I think I made money on every car after that. I didn't on that one because I sold it to a friend of mine.
Okay. The
next day, though, I was hooked, man, because it's like $1,000. I know for a fact I can sell this thing for $1,500. Again, I didn't because I sold it to a friend, but I knew I could have. And so I bought another one the next day that was a Honda Civic. If you know anything about cars, Hondas, Toyotas, they're all great. You make great money on them. So I bought the next one the next day. Within 48 hours, I'd made $700 on that one, and dude, I was just hooked. Then I got into trailers and ATVs. I got into boats real big. I was flipping boats, making really good money on boats. And I had started this move-in company. And I was to the point where every day I was off, I was moving people, or I was hauling off trash, or yard debris. And then it got to the point where grandmas were wanting attics cleaned out, and I couldn't do it all. So I started hiring some of my buddies that were off shift or family members when I was on shift to go do the job. And so I realized pretty quick, like, all right, there's a lot more money outside of this place. Not that it's all about money. We'll talk more about that. I'm a big guy that believes in impact over income. But at that point, my long-term focus, 20-year-old Hunter, was focused on how do I get to $1 million. That was my number one concern.
Yeah. You start flipping things over and over, but normally that to a lot of times leads into flipping real estate.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, right?
Yeah.
They flip. A buddy of mine flipped couches, Ryan Pineda, flipped couches for a long time, and now he's a massive house flipper. Yours does not lead into house flipping.
It did. I had a couple of real estate deals, not a massive amount, and I didn't continue down that road just because I fell in love with business.
Yeah.
And just had a little bit different perspective on building wealth. I flipped a house, actually, before me and my wife were married. We were engaged at the time, so it was serious. We knew we were going to stay together. So I didn't have to pay the larger tax on it since I already had a home. Put it in her name. We held it for a year, so the capital gains wouldn't be as much. And I did flip it, made great money on it. I bought it for $75, flipped it for $120, and then I had a trailer and like 4 acres I bought. I think I paid $10 for it, maybe $12 for it. Flipped it for $25. So I had a few like that worked in there, but certainly wasn't my main target.
What gets you into your kind of launch in business is in the roofing side.
Yeah,
which I love. I've always had this like unique mind of the roofing because I saw it happen all the time, kind of in the real estate world. These roofers would come into town and like show up and door knock and freaking sell these roofs for like $22,000,
right.
and I saw it all the time happen. But you kind of move into this roofing world. How does it happen?
Yeah, so I leave that smaller fire department. I go to the bigger fire department. I think there's more opportunity there. I still have the 2 days off, so I can do business on the side. I don't know for sure at that point that I'm going to leave the fire department. I'm thinking, well, maybe I ride it out. I had some mentors that were in the fire service that had done really well. They had made their millions on the side. They did real estate, mobile home parks. So I started getting pretty big into the mobile home park game, learning that. I didn't buy anything, just learning it and thinking that maybe that's the route I was going to go. 2014 into 2014. I get introduced to Amazon and FBA and drop shipping, and I start making pretty good money there. So then through 2015, I get married in June of 2015 to my wife, Maggie. I'm like, man, I think we could run with this. I think we could do pretty well in the online space. And so I started doubling down on it, making more and more money. I had saved up a pretty good bit. At the time, I probably had 60 grand cash or so, and a bunch of boats, a bunch of trailers. I mean, like, dude, I wish you could see my grandma's house, my uncle's house, like all these people's houses where I just had like all this crap stored. It's funny to think about now. But I had all this stuff that I knew I could sell if everything went bad. I mean, I was only making $34,000 or whatever at the fire department. So I had a couple of years saved up if everything went bad. December 22nd of 2015, walked away from the fire department. I said, all right, I'm going to focus full-time on Amazon and building this thing out. And the guys I was partnered with, I guess 9 days later, January 1st, went bust and got out of the industry and stopped. And so I was like, man, I guess I got to do this by myself or figure something else out. And I told you earlier, you know, my chief at the fire department, he looked at me when I was doing my exit interview. He said, Hunter, are you sure you know what you're doing? I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm 24.
Yeah, 24, and he was probably his 50s or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
40s.
and I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to be a millionaire in like 2 years. And so
9 days later,
I'm
you're out
like,
of business.
oh, dude, I'm not going back to the fire department. I can't let anybody know this. And so I shifted pretty quickly from Amazon to marketing. I knew that, you know, I didn't want to be dependent on Amazon. If Amazon went out of business or they changed their rules and regulations, which they do all the time, their algorithms, I was making pretty good money, but I mean, some months were great and some months were bad. And so I shifted to marketing, specifically SEO, started learning Facebook ads. And in that, I had to get some clients to pay a retainer so I could make money and feed my family. Quickly ran out of $60,000.
Yeah.
It wasn't long
Was
after
as
I
deep
left the
as what
fire
you thought it
department.
was.
Yeah, man, it went quick because I was investing in myself, right? It wasn't like I wasn't taking trips to Mexico. I wasn't buying nice cars. Like that's the difference in entrepreneurship that I think a lot of people miss. Is it's okay to invest in yourself and bet on yourself versus living like you got to be the next Gary Vee or Grant Cardone, right? Like you got to build to that. Those dudes didn't build that overnight. So I don't remember. I think the event was in October of 16. So I left in December of 15. I think the event was in October of 16. So about 10 months later, I'm going to leave for an event the next day. My wife's in the office with me. And she's like, hey, babe, we got to make a credit card payment. I'm like, credit card payment on what? She's like, on the Barclay card. And I'm like, okay, how much we owe? $22,000. And I'm like, oh, wow. I had no clue we had run up the credit card to $22,000.
Yeah.
And I had just completely drained the cash accounts.
Yeah.
Now, I still had some of the stuff. I still had some trailers and boats and stuff. So I'm like, all right, I don't want to go on this trip, but I already paid for it. I got to go. I know how important it is. I'm still investing in myself. I know I'm going to be around the right people. I'm going to learn things that are going to help me get out of this hole. So I need you to focus on listing all this stuff on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, and so we could sell it. And so we did, and we started pushing there. I got some of those retainers, and it just so happened that some of those first clients were in the roofing industry. I had fitness clients, I had pest control, wildlife control, like beavers and stuff. But a couple of those first clients were in the roofing industry. Dude, I didn't know anything about the roofing industry. And I jokingly still tell people I don't know anything about the roofing industry. It's just building a team, taking care of them, casting that vision, and having a good strategy behind it, knowing marketing. So marketing, having that core competency of marketing helped me a ton.
Yeah.
Because it's not hard to go into a contracting-based service industry and be one of the better ones in your area. There may be better people nationally doing it, but likely there's not going to be too many in your area that are as good as you if you have a marketing mind. So I helped this one guy go from $3 million to $7 million in that first year. I said, man, if he can do it, then I should probably try to do it too. And to be honest, it was really just going to be a case study at first of like, hey, if I can take Cornerstone Construction, this roofing company that I don't know anything about roofing, to $1 million in a year, well, then obviously I can help you add another $1 million if you know about roofing.
Right.
But it quickly changed from just a case study to realize that, man, I actually enjoy working with homeowners. I enjoy being different than all the other guys out here that, you know, people have just a different perception. Like the industry's kind of looked down upon, and I wanted to change that perception. I enjoyed hiring the team. And when I realized that I could bring people in, train them on sales and how to go out and make a difference in the community, but also pad their bank account and make them $100,000 a year, it changed everything. And that took me a little bit to do. Like it didn't just happen overnight. You know, 2017, we launched May 24th, first roof we ever did. We did like $1 million that year. 2018, we did a couple million. And then 2019 is when I got really serious with it. You know, January of 2019, my little boy was born December of 2018. And, you know, I don't think it was him being born that I was like, I got to really get on it because I've always been driven. But maybe subconsciously there was something to that. So 2019, January, I built out what's called Six-Figure Blueprint. There's companies all across the U.S. now using their own version of the Six-Figure Blueprint. Some people still call it that. Some people white label it and call it their own. But it's essentially just a training system for a sales guy to be able to come in, not know anything about sales. And to be honest, we usually prefer people that don't know anything about sales.
I agree.
So we bring someone in, a blue-collar guy that's used to busting butt for 40 hours a week, laying brick or building fences or cutting grass, and say, look, man, if you follow this program and you give 40 hours of your life a week, you can't not make $100,000. And so when we did that, man, the confidence in our leadership team to just know that, hey, we're giving these people a path to six figures went through the roof, and the belief in the guys coming in and us being able to sell that vision was just off the charts.
You built this Cornerstone.
Yeah.
You built a Cornerstone from 2015, 17. You launch it, and 2000. We're in 2021 right now. So you launch it for those 3.5 years. Let's just call it, right?
Yeah.
3.5 years. You're driving Cornerstone. While driving Cornerstone, obviously you're not like this roofing expert. Back then, you probably are now. But my point is that you didn't start off by one day saying, "Oh man, you know what I really want to do? I want to open a roofing company."
Right.
That was never really an idea angle you were playing out there.
Yeah.
To me, it's looking for the right opportunity and having your eyes open for where I mean, you were doing marketing and SEO and saw the opportunity inside of it.
Yeah. Even when I opened the roofing company, I didn't want to open a roofing company. I wanted to open a case study to be able to get more marketing clients. And it just led into continuing to grow that. So again, 17 we did like $1 million. The next year we did probably $2 million. 19 we did 5, and then do you want me to elaborate on RoofCon? Starting RoofCon in 2019.
As we started, RoofCon. Go back to. I want to talk about the opportunity side of it. Just for a lot of entrepreneurs are watching right now, right? And I know you launched this company and you built it to in the first 3 years you're a $5 million roofing company. I want to go back to the opportunity side though, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs try to get hyper focused on creating this idea that they freaking love the concept of it versus just looking for the right opportunity at the right time. Yeah. How important do you think right opportunity is at the right time versus sitting and a lot of times entrepreneurs get that stagnant analysis paralysis, they'll call it, where they'll sit and think about an idea for the last 5 years. Yeah. I think, bro, you could have already went and made $1 million. Yeah. Talk about that side of it for a second.
I love that. I love that subject, man. So you got plenty of influencers out there that are telling you, like, don't do it if you don't love it. And although to an extent I agree with that, I also think that sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and do stuff that you don't enjoy.
I can't tell you how many businesses I started as a hustle, straight hustle. I hated everything about it, but I just knew if I did, I was going to make some money.
Dude, it took, look
I wasn't trying to commit my life to it.
It's not even, we just hit 4 years sometime I started Cornerstone, right?
Yeah.
And life-changing exit, and able to do the things I love now because I was willing to, quote unquote, sacrifice 4 years of my life, but I didn't. Like, I learned so much. I was able to impact a lot of lives. People impacted me. We built an amazing team. We built a company that's still going today, publicly traded. And so, I sacrificed a couple years doing something that I wasn't super passionate about, but inside of the company, I found things that I was passionate about. Roofing it, dude, I tell people today at RoofCon, this year with 2,000 people there, I tell them, dude, I don't care about roofing. There's nothing sexy about roofing. But you get to serve homeowners, you get to give back to the community. We created a nonprofit with a Cornerstone where we give back to kids in every community we serve. You get to build leaders within your corporation who then go back and take care of their families and become better leaders. And so there's stuff you can enjoy within the company and just a part of the process that people talk about. Like, it's not always about the destination, it's about the process. I know that's corny and people say it, but it's true.
I know from here you launch RoofCon and you have an exit. But I want to go into I want to talk about your exit for a second. But I want to go back to what you talked about earlier, impact versus income. And I want to talk about some of the principles that you go by when you talk about impact income. But first, I want to finish this piece of you take this Cornerstone roofing and you eventually sell it off for a massive exit. Talk about a little bit about that exit of Cornerstone roofing.
Yeah. So to talk about Cornerstone, I kind of have to talk about RoofCon because
Yeah.
of the value that was built in together. With starting RoofCon in 2019, like we just started to have more pull in the industry, and we did something that was different than any other conference out there. Like all the other conferences were just focused on money,
Yeah.
money. Have a good time, party. It's a break from your business. Come out and join us in Vegas or New Orleans or Phoenix or Dallas or wherever they're at, right? And for us, it was no. You're going to come here. You're going to build relationships. We're going to have some of the best training in the industry, and that's great. But when you leave here, the most important thing is the accountability.
Yeah.
Something I've said for years now since I got in the event space was 6-figure keynotes are great, but the 7-figure handshakes are everything, right? Like we'll give you the training, you're going to be able to go back and make money. But when you leave here, if you don't leave here with the relationships that you're able to call up, hit on Facebook Messenger, text, then you lost.
Yeah.
You didn't do a good job. Quit hanging out with your little cliques and the company you came with. You can hang out with them at home. You can hang out with them at the Airbnb. Like we encourage the guys that come, the company owners that come to RoofCon to leverage RoofCon as like a retreat for their company. Come, hang out at night at your Airbnb, go out on the town. But when you come to the event, break up, spend time with other owners. And so what led into the massive, quote unquote, massive exit of Cornerstone was having the other relationships in the industry.
Yeah.
You know, the valuation, the multiple we got on Cornerstone was not something you get without that. You know,
Yeah.
typically a roofing company goes for 2.5x a beta. Like we would have not gotten that much. We did 15 million last year in sales, and we were able to exit for multiple 8 figures because of our relationships in the industry and that publicly traded company knowing that we were going to be able to drive more companies in, which we did instantly. I mean, within 10 days of them acquiring us, we already had another company on the books ready to be acquired.
Yeah. So RoofCon is kind of the piece that you launch, which is for those that don't understand, RoofCon is just a massive event. You put on an annual event once a year.
Yeah.
You bring in roofers. They pay, let's just say on average, $500 to be there for this event, and you bring all the roofing, contracting type of vendors, sponsor come in, and so forth. And then you guys have training, so forth at this event.
Yes, that's exactly right.
The RoofCon is kind of what also gave you the I don't know if this is the right word, but the street cred of where this publicly traded company wanted to buy you out,
Right.
not of RoofCon, but they wanted to buy the roofing piece of you, which at that point, your roofing industry, you had multiple offices around Little Rock, Charlotte, you said, Greenville, Charleston, South Carolina. You had all these roofers going on in this $15 million business that you eventually sell out, but RoofCon is kind of what gave you the launch credibility, whatever you want to call it, into it.
No, that's exactly right.
You sell out of your Cornerstone roofing, but keep RoofCon.
Yeah, separately.
Now, somewhere along the line, you buy roofing.com.
Yeah.
Where does roofing.com come into it?
Yeah, so roofing.com is just something we wanted to add to the portfolio, and we're currently building it out to be contractor and consumer facing, because right now, you know, roofing community, RoofCon, everything that we do in that space, we've got a mastermind called Revolt, you know, a little bit about where we help contractors scale like we did.
Yeah.
We give them the same systems, but it's all been contractor facing, and we want to be consumer facing as well. We want to introduce them to the top contractors in every city, because that's what we do, is we attract the best contractors across the U.S. Not just the guys who are focused on money and profit, but the guys that are focused on integrity and leadership and legacy. So roofing.com is currently being built out as a directory for homeowners to be able to go there and find out who the verified contractors are. Are they licensed? Are they insured? Do they have bond? All of those things. And then for the contractors to be able to get leads from good buyers, good people that are actually looking for quality.
I want to talk about roofing.com from a business sense, though.
Yeah.
You know, in the day and age that we live in, domains are super important, but brand and branding is to me is like I built my career on branding basically. You talk about buying roofing.com.
Yeah.
That's not a small play. That's a massive commitment into what you're getting into, because any type of you get into one-word domains.
Yeah.
Either you bought it 25 years ago, and you'd have been 5 years old at that point,
Right.
or you paid some change for it. Number one, if you don't mind telling, if you don't have to, but if you don't mind, what did you pay for it? And number two, why would you pay? What was the angle that you're willing to say, I'm willing to pay that for this domain?
Right.
What was the thought process there?
Yeah, so to lead into that, you know, funny story is, and I got to tell Andrew a little bit about this earlier, it's 2019 when I started RoofCon. I was sitting at a restaurant with my wife and my little boy, and he's eating a lemon, and I wanted to name the event RoofCon, and I wanted RoofCon.com, and it was $5,000. And I remember sitting there at the restaurant like, oh man, $5,000 for a URL? Like, I don't want to pay $5,000 for a URL. And then the next year, it was $10,000 for one. Yeah, I did. I did buy it. So if you go to RoofCon.com right now, you can.
You bought RoofCon.com for $5,000, pulled the trigger, bought it.
Perspective, right? Perspective. So just continue to level up. And then when we decided we wanted to make the play on roofing.com, I paid a broker. I've been asking the guy for probably 2 years now, trying to reach out to the owner. Yeah. And so I finally broke down and paid a broker to go do it. Had to pay the broker $80,000
just to go negotiate for you
to get it, and then he got it for me for $400. So $480 is what I got in it.
So you paid $480. And to be clear, for those that are watching, that's $480,000, not $480. Yeah. You paid $480,000 for roofing.com. Okay. In general, you know, entrepreneurs look at that and think, my God, why don't you just pour that into marketing on Facebook ads instead? Yeah. Why did you feel like, no, this is the play. I need this roofing.com. What was the angle?
Yeah, you just talked about it, man. It's brand.
It's branding.
And it's an asset, right?
Yep.
Like, I think most of the people watching the show, they're entrepreneurial, they get it, they're modern, they keep up with the times. You look at NFTs now.
Yeah.
And it's something that's blown my mind over the last couple of months. and as I was thinking about it, dude, I was really thinking like URLs are probably like the original NFT, right? Like,
probably.
You can't fill it, you can't download it or take it off, but I own it. Nobody else owns roofing.com.
Right.
Now I own fuel.org, and it drives me nuts. I freaking hate it that it's a .org. But there's
that was not going to be 480 though.
Yeah, no, I'm not. But fuel.com is taken. I probably never own it. I mean, it's a legitimate business. So the .com, when you have an opportunity to get it, if you can afford it, it's worth. And I will say also, I consulted some of my mentors. I've got a mentor, Matt Lackey, who founded Mountain Khakis. Had 6 exits, large exits. I reached out to him. I was like, hey, man, I've got the opportunity to spend $500,000 on roofing.com. I can't even believe I'm getting the opportunity. I was hoping I was going to get it for like 100, 200 max. So this was twice what I was really
thinking of paying.
Yeah. And he's like, dude, get it. He said, you may not sell it soon, 3 years, 5 years, but I promise you it's worth multiple 7 figures minimum to the right buyer, possibly 8 figures.
Yeah.
He had told me that he had bought, I don't want to say, I don't know if it's public or not, but he had bought a domain in the real estate place, really good domain that he later flipped for millions of dollars. And so that was proof of concept for me. And then he said, just poke around and look at some of the one-word domains. And I did. I looked up, you can look it up right now, 25 most expensive one-word domains. And you'll see. I mean, even like carinsurance.com, I think it's car insurance or 2 words.com sold for like $32.8 million.
Yeah.
Cars.com sold for, I think, $842 million. So you start looking at them, it's like, okay, it's an asset. Sure, it sucks. And I'm having to lose $500,000, but it's an asset. And I know that it's going to pour into our brand. And we'll be able to sell that entity, if we decide to sell it, to a strategic buyer at some point for more.
Yeah, the domain thing is like 2 different sides that people got to think about. Number one is the asset side, which is what you're talking about. Like, roofing.com is a massive asset.
Yeah.
Meaning, think about this. My guess is whoever sold it to you wasn't actually even using roofing.com. You might have been, but a lot of times they're just actually sitting on, they're not a roofing company. They were smart back in the day, bought a bunch of NFT domains in your example there, and now they're selling that roofing.com website for $500,000.
Oh, I'm sure he thought like, holy, like he won the lottery, right?
Yeah.
Which it was. It was great because he bought it, I think, 96. For probably,
so he probably bought it for $10 then.
Yeah,
back in the day, right? But my point is that was an asset that had increased in value, right?
Yeah.
So there's the asset side of it. And when you sell, if you decide to sell roofing.com, that is part of the purchase price. Will be the roofing.com domain will be part of the purchase price, right? It's part of the asset. Secondly, it's the branding side of it. Like anytime that I meet anybody that is smart enough, wise enough, quick enough, what do you want to call it, to own that thing is like freaking genius. I got a buddy of mine, he'll be here at the Power Room, and he was so strategic, dude. He found, he's a big real estate guy. He found realestateinvestor.com. Somebody owned it. That is a great domain, realestateinvestor.com, right? It literally like says what it is, right? And he found somebody that owned it and ended up partnering with them. Like said, okay, they're both doing like this real estate thing. He said, let's come on as partners and build this thing out. And then like 2 years later, on a roundabout way, did a forced merger and forced takeover and bought the entire thing and now owns realestateinvestor.com. And his whole play was, dude, if I own this website, I'm telling you, I will be able to drive just off the SEO of the Google searches. I will be able to drive of what he's building. He's building a marketplace type of thing. It's a freaking home run, dude. For what
Well, it's just being that entrepreneur, man, and being willing to take the risk and sacrifice some of the money. Our friend Nick Long, who's been on the show, he's a mentor to me. Runs the Multiple Club, a mastermind that I'm a part of.
Yep.
He helped me with the acquisition. He's the one that put me and the company that bought Cornerstone together.
Yeah.
He bought highspeedinternet.com. He spent $30K on it and flipped it for $300. Well, guess what? He said that they flipped it for $5 million, bro. So he thought he won going from 30 to 300, and then they flipped it to $5 million. He's like, are you kidding me? So a lot of it's who you know, right? The strategic buyer that it's worth $5 million to. For me, you know, what company is roofing.com worth 8 figures to? There's somebody.
Over time. Right. Well, that's from the domain side, but then you have the branding side, the back end side of it as well. So I want to go down to impact and income. You talked about that. Two great words. One of my favorite words in life is literally impact.
Yeah.
I absolutely freaking love that word and what it means and what it can accomplish, right? And you talk about impact versus income or impact over income. Break it down for us.
Yeah, man. For me, when I talk about legacy-focused leadership,
which is one of your big driving things, right?
It is.
Legacy-focused leadership, right?
Great. You hear people talk about servant leadership and different types of leadership, and for me, when we started RoofCon, our 3 core values were integrity, leadership, and legacy. And over time, I just kind of developed that saying of legacy-focused leadership.
I love it.
Leading with legacy in mind. Everything that you do, when you're talking to your team, when you're throwing an event, when you're selling to your customers, no matter what it is, you're leading with legacy in mind. You're thinking about that. Like, what are people going to remember you for? And whose lives are you going to change? And so when we talk about people over profit and impact over income, like the 20-year-old hunter and the 30-year-old hunter are 2 different people.
Not the same, right?
They're 2 different people. You know, now it's the money's great, and I'll talk about that on my board here when I write my word. The money's great, but it's just a piece of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And for a lot of us, and I think Nick used the word leverage, man. It's leverage. Like, how do we go out and change lives? This weekend, I listened to Shane Scott at one of the trainings I was at with the Multiple Club talk about good guys and bad guys, and he hit me good. Like, I do so much training, it's rarely that I have like this breakthrough moment when I'm at some of these trainings. I'm doing it more for the relationship, not so much the training. Not that I'm some super smart guy, I'm just saying I train so much. And he put something into perspective with me when he was talking about going out and goodwill and just trying to change the world. He was just talking about good guys versus bad guys. And there's a group of us, 50 in that room, and he said, look around. These right here are good guys. But for every good guy in here, there's 100 more bad guys.
For sure.
And to be honest, it's pretty crappy, but they're more well organized.
Yeah.
And they do their job better. So us 50, we can't change anything without leadership, man. Leadership is everything. John Maxwell says it best. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Multiplication over addition. And that goes for everything. Whether you're talking about changing the world and impact, or whether you're talking about income and your sales. How do you create more sales managers, more sales leaders, more guys that go out there and teach others how to do it? Not just, hey, I've got 5 sales guys that I want to do really good. No, I've got 5 sales guys that could do $1 million each and make $5 million for my business. But what if those 5 guys taught 2 more guys each? And you just start doing that multiplication, and you can change the world. And it's not some cliche thing. It's the truth, man. You can change the world with that. And we're so blessed to live in an age where we have social media and we have access to billions of people around the world right now at our fingertips.
Yeah, dude. I think we talk about income and impact. I know for me, a young me was driven by income.
Yeah.
And I made so many mistakes by doing it that way. And you know, I came from more of a poor family and didn't have a ton. And to me, it was like, I got to go do this because I wanted to. I use a word, but maybe this is the wrong word, but save my family to a certain degree, if you will, or change my family's direction. And I was just driven by, I got to go have this money, this income, so I can change this, right? And I think along the way, I made a ton of mistakes, burned a lot of bridges. I probably hurt a lot of people along the way that I wish I wouldn't have happened. But when you get to the point where you can change it to impact, and you're not driven by money, you're driven by, can I add value? Can I help this person that's in front of me right now? Yeah. It's a totally different perspective. And uniquely enough, I've made more money by focusing on impact than I ever did focusing on income along the way. You know what I mean?
You will. Yeah, you will, man. And it's a blessing to be able to do that. And I get it, when you're young and you're in the grind and you're trying to keep score and you're trying to make the money, because for one, either you got people you're trying to prove wrong, if we're being honest. Like some
Sure,
people don't like talking about that. They're like, oh, just focus on what's ahead and don't talk about people that you're trying to prove wrong. I'm not a big believer in that, man. Like sometimes the why, the thing in front of me might not be strong enough, and I need to look back and be like, all right, I got to prove these mofos wrong.
Yep.
Like they said enough things, they made me mad, they don't believe in me. I just got to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And that gives me enough push to get going again, so I'm focused on my why.
Yeah.
And some people don't want to admit to that, and that's okay.
I think the difference is, I totally agree with you. I mean, almost to a cynical standpoint, I've never said this before, but I even have domains that I have bought, thinking one day if I get to a point where I feel like I might have this mass exit. I even have this crazy domain where I took these people that like really, I look back at it as the fuel, or sometimes it'd be a fuel tank I'll go to, right? And I actually I didn't use their names, but I kind of named it after them, and I did it for the purpose of, if I got this mass exit, I'm getting interviewed on Fox News sometime, and they say, why did you name your company this? I'm then gonna say, 19 years ago, there was this person, you know what I mean? But I use it. I think the difference that I want to say though is difference when you're using it as fuel or you're using it as your why.
Yeah.
I think that's the mistake, right?
Yeah.
When you use the negative as your why, it's a problem. When you use, let's say, a negative as your fuel, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, dude, in business, not sometimes, you are going to get kicked right in the teeth, bro.
Yeah.
You are going to face massive adversity, and there's going to be more reasons of why to quit and do something else.
It's easy.
Then it's the easiest path out, right? And then to keep going forward. And you got to have not one type of fuel, but in my opinion, you have to have multiple. Let's just, for our sake, call it 5-gallon red cans of different types of fuel, unleaded and premium and jet fuel, because sometimes you got to reach in and find one that's going to fuel you enough to get you back on track, to focus back on the real why that you have there. So I totally understand what you're saying, and most people won't claim it, and I will freaking claim it. And I love watching the guy, Barstool Sports. You ever watch that guy?
Oh, yeah.
That guy probably has it at a higher level. Like he'll make a champagne bottle out of his enemy, and then use it. But I totally agree with you. I want to get to you talk about impact and income. I want to get to fueled. So you had this exit on Cornerstone.
Yeah.
You have this roofing.com, which is a cool thing that you're doing, and you got a couple of big exits looking at now, later, whatever. But getting to know you, it seems like you actually have this real big passion, and I don't want the audience to miss this point. You're not a freaking roofer. Do not miss that point. You're an entrepreneur, and you have a passion for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That's really where to me, when I get to know you and got to know you, to me that's where your heart is.
Right.
Is in the entrepreneur world. It's not in the roofing world. It's really in the entrepreneurial world. You launched Fueled. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so Fueled is a local mastermind, and we are going to add a virtual model to it. But so to backtrack and give a little perspective, we have Revolt, which is tied to the roofing industry, and it's part of the roofing.com and RoofCon brand. And so in Revolt, we've just focused on contractors.
Yeah.
Not even just roofers. There's some concrete guys and plumbing guys and things like that. But 40 roofers are a part of our mastermind. They pay pretty healthy amount to be a part of our mastermind for a year-long subscription. And so in that, they get a couple of retreats. We go to these retreats, and we focus more on developing as leaders and becoming better people, and how do we give back and all of those things than we do roofing. So you're exactly right. Like, I don't care that much about roofing. It's just a vehicle. It's just a tool to get to that next level and to help people. And so one of the things that we do with our members is we help them to develop not just a mission statement, not just a common mission for their company. We do that, but also a life mission. Like, what are you here for? Not some corny, hey, figure it out in 2 minutes, but like, we're working with them to figure out what they're here for. What are they passionate about? What turns them on? What gets them riled up? Like, if they didn't have to work a day in their life, what would they be doing? And for me, I talk about legacy-focused leadership, and obviously that's what it is for me to put it in words. And what I tell people is I want to help develop 1 million leaders who go on to change the lives of billions, because I know that I can't change the lives of billions myself. I can't take away that pain. I can't show them what's possible. I can't show them opportunity. But through 1 million people that are leaders and care as well, they can. And what's really cool about leadership, man, is like, maybe I'm passionate about the water crisis and 3.5 million people a year dying because they don't have clean water. Maybe you're passionate about underground railroad
About OUR, Operation
OUR.
Underground Railroad with the child sex trafficking.
Right, so child sex trafficking. We've all got different things we're passionate about. So when you've got those million leaders, you're taking care of probably the world's problems, right?
Right.
For the most part, you're covering all the different sectors versus like Hunter's more passionate about water and wanting to solve that because he can't believe that we're in 2021 and we're still dealing with that. But when you have 1 million people that you're touching, you're solving so many problems, and that's what leaders do.
Yeah.
And so we bring those guys in and we help them figure out what their life mission is. But I don't want to just do that with roofers. I don't want my legacy to be that I only worked with roofers. I love those guys and I'm thankful for those guys. And it's awesome to see the response we get and the testimonials we get with those roofers. But I want to do that in a bigger way with entrepreneurs across the globe. And so we created Fueled to do that. So in Greenville, South Carolina, my little hometown in South Carolina, we created an actual physical location that people could come in, because most masterminds are like, hey, let's hop on a call, let's come to an event once a quarter or every 6 months, whatever. And that's great, that's fine, but we wanted something local for the high performers in every city to come into. So long term, our goal is to be in all of the biggest cities, all the cities with over 100,000 people in those cities, and bring in the top 100, 200, 300 high performers from those cities, meet once a week. If you want to come in and work every day, you're welcome to. There's co-working space, there's a gym, there's a pool table, there's ping pong and shuffleboard and MMA mats and all the fun stuff for you to come in and hang out. But at least once a month, you're coming in for the training that we put together, whether it's tax strategy, sales, marketing, doesn't matter what it is, maybe it's exit strategy. And then weekly, we have a power hour where we encourage everyone to come in, be together, and network. We don't care if you're working out, maybe a group of 10's working out, maybe some are wrestling, maybe some are hanging out, playing games, maybe some are in the business center. We don't care what it is, just be together, be intentional with that time, build the relationship so that when you break, you can hold each other accountable. There's so much synergy when you bring high-level people together. Both of us know that. You know, we both have masterminds. You got Power Room, and you're crushing it with that.
Yeah.
I have Revolt, and we're crushing it with that in a specific industry. But when you bring these people together, the partnerships that can be
it's crazy.
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
You see it happen when you run one, right?
Yeah.
You kind of have a little bit different perspective because you hear so many of the stories, right?
Yeah.
And it's amazing to sit there and watch two people who didn't know each other, but successful in their own right. So, you know, for us in our mastermind, it's not about a guy who's trying to start their first company, right? There's other masterminds that's what they specialize in. For us, it was more about you're already on the path, you're already doing millions of dollars in revenue. But when you watch this guy and this girl, they've never known each other, or this guy and guy, girl, whatever it is, and go out, collaborate, connect, collaborate, and then go do something, you're like, well, no shit, it worked out. You're dealing with two highly successful, driven people that are looking for just another opportunity to add to their portfolio. I love watching it take place. I love kind of being a part of it as much as I can. And Fuel to me is a cool one because you're trying to take it nationwide. You're staying with this. I know there's a virtual side, but the real vision is the local mastermind side, where the business owners have a place to come hang out, a club, if you will, to do stuff in. And now you got the first one going in on Greenville. Kind of your
So long-term vision of that, man, is to be able to, you know, you're in Salt Lake City, you come to Greenville, you go to Dallas, you go to LA, wherever you're traveling to, you look up on the Fueled app, hey, there's a location here. I'm going to go hang out with the best of the best in this city. Build more relationships and just make sure that we're continuing to provide a place for people to do that. And like some people have called it a modern day country club. Some have called it a playground for entrepreneurs. You know, whatever you want to call it, it's a place for high level people, high performers to come together and collaborate.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Like I said, you kind of do the first one right now in Greenville, your backyard, your test market, of course. Do you see a place in your brain, just kind of vision out here with me? Is this more of a franchise thing, or is it corporate owned? How do you kind of see it rolling out?
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
We've been challenged both ways. You know, talking to a lot of guys that are a lot smarter than me. I think right now we're probably leaning towards that franchise route, and we've had, I bet, at least a dozen people reach out just through our network. Some of the Revolt members want to open up. We had one of our guys, the Allen brothers up in Wisconsin, they called and they were like, hey, we just left the building. We want to get it locked down. They're going to rent it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, for Fueled. I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes, homie. Like, we got to prove the concept in Greenville first. You know? In my mind, we're already there.
Sure,
like, there's 100. But we got to prove the concept. For us, it's just the acquisition process. And it's a no-brainer. to most people, if they look at it, and this is the problem, is most people think it's a gym because they walk in and about a third of the space is gym space, and we say, no, it's not a gym. That's just a feature. You don't even have to come to the space, but once a week if you want to for the power hour, once a month, just to be a part of the community, and it's worth $10,000 a year, and we do $5,000 for the founding 50. So we've got guys all across the U.S. and some girls across the U.S. want to open up. Nashville, Houston, San Diego. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Boise, Idaho. So we look forward to it. I've already kind of started the process with franchising and learned that franchise fee and
so
FDD and all of that stuff.
It's a headache for sure. If someone wants to know more about Fueled, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, fueled.org. You just check out Fueled.
How do you feel about Fueled.org?
It's not .com. Maybe try on there, man.
Fueled.org. That's awesome, man. Super cool guy. You're 30 years old.
Yeah.
And
that pains me too, brother. I just turned 30.
30.
Yeah.
For some reason, man, the 30 didn't bother me. A weird one that bothered me was 34.
34.
Such a random one. Like 30 was like, who cares? Because like 30 is the new 20. I was like, I don't care. For some reason, 34, I was like, I am so old. Like,
you know what it was for me,
dude.
man, is like, I said this for years. I knew it was going to happen. I was like, when I turned 30, all the older guys, like my older mentors, aren't going to want to give me advice anymore because they're like, now he's a competitor. He's not some young kid.
I'm not helping a young person get started anymore. Yeah, for sure. So much success, man, and great content, leadership. You have all this knowledge. I know you kind of share it when you're at RoofCon and with your team and Revolt and Fueled. But if I give you any challenge, man, is hit the social media because I want to know. I want to know more from you. I think entrepreneurs need to know more of what you got. I think you got something special, and you have a lot to give, and I think it'd be great for them. Maybe not great for you, but great for them if you push on that social media. And I struggle with it because it's like I don't want to go on it. I don't want to. I hate even looking at my social media account. It's like.
I'm just such an in-person person. Like I just love
the human touch. Is why I only do the show in live. I could do way more interviews if I did on Zoom, but it's like, no, dude, I want to get to know the person. I want to get to know what you do, what you're about, and so forth. And we always do them live because I like the in-person
I love this
side of it, man. So if I could challenge it all, man, it'd be take your knowledge and start getting it out there to a lot of entrepreneurs because I think you have a lot to give for sure. On that note, man, I want to talk to you about Money Is, and got the mug shot here of you. So Money Is, whether it be 1 word, 2 words, 5 words, whatever it is, a phrase, you put it here, and then put the big John Hancock right here, and then me and you will talk about that. There you go.
Appreciate it.
All right, here we go. This is Hunter, and his answer is money is a stat, not a scoreboard. And you underline the word not.
Yeah.
All right, so obviously, first time anybody gave this answer, right? It's kind of like domains.
Impact was taken, man. Somebody took Impact.
Someone took it. Do you know who it was? Do you remember? You remember who it was, Britt? Obviously, go look it up to see who Impact was. From in my brain right now, it might have been Mike Tedesco. Anyways,
It wasn't Mike.
it was a Mike. Money is a stat, not underline a scoreboard. Okay, you hear this? You hear this definition? Not that definition, but you hear the concept of money's a scorecard, scoreboard. All right, so let's break it down. What do you mean by it?
Yeah, so for me, man, I think the score is how fulfilled you are. Are you happy with your
Interesting.
life? Because we talk about sucking it up and doing the things that suck, and I obviously believe in that because we just talked about
You
it.
gotta grind sometimes,
But
right?
also, dude, if it's unhealthy, like if you're not at home, and when you are at home,
You're not there.
you're not there. You're not being intentional. Your kids don't know where dad is. They don't even know dad. Your wife's unhappy. It creates division, potentially divorce. You got people that look to you within your company. Like you can't focus on the money. We just talked about it. The entire show is impact over income, which pains me that I couldn't put impact, but I wanted to be original, and nobody else is ever going to say that again. So money's just a stat, man. Sure, like we keep score with it, and mentally, like I want to be the next Bezos, whatever.
Sure.
But truthfully, if we really break it down and we talk real life, it's just a stat, man. It's just, KD could have 49 points, but if they lose the game, it doesn't matter, right? He can have 49 points, but if they don't win the championship, it doesn't matter. So being fulfilled is all that matters.
So a lot of times you hear people say, I want to go back and forth with you on this. A lot of times, so many times in my life, I've heard, money is the scoreboard that you're just keeping score on a scorecard with it. And I for whatever reason, I've always hated that definition.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, it's not true, bro. Like I think it's just a very political way to say what you're trying to say. Like you're trying to get away. That's my gut when I hear that thing. And yours is money is a stat, not a scoreboard. Which to me, when I think about that, I think of a back of a baseball card is what I'm thinking of right now. And like you said, you have all those stats. It's just one of the stats. It's not the stat.
Exactly.
Right?
We talk about scorecards in business. Like, what are you looking at? What are you measuring weekly? What are your stats that you care about?
Yeah, KPIs.
For us, we care about revenue. We care about profit. We care about how many people we've hired. How many $100,000 reps do we have? Like, there's different measurables there, but it is simply just one of the stats. Like, it's not if you're winning or losing, because if you don't have a team, if you don't have happy people, well, you're not winning then,
right?
Because you don't make money.
Right.
So it's just a piece of it. It's not the scoreboard.
Yeah, I totally agree. Money. Anytime it is the end all be all, I promise it's not. I do like acknowledging that money is important.
Yeah.
I think that there's been this kind of, especially you grow up poor. There's this like world of like rich people are unhappy. And I'm not saying that rich people can't be unhappy. Not by any means, they definitely can be. But I do believe that money is important, and money can definitely create a lot of great memories, experiences, so forth in life.
When it can change the lives of others. Like, I'm not playing it down at all.
Oh,
right?
no, yeah.
Like Nick Long said leverage, and before we got here, that was going to be my word, was leverage. And my good buddy Nick said it, and I found out by his marketing girl. She said, what are you going to say when you go on the show? I was like, probably leverage. And she was like, well, Nick said leverage. I was like, damn, I guess I'm not saying leverage. So I kept whittling down to that. But it is leverage. And so, like, for people like us that are, and no arrogance in the statement, but we've been blessed to learn how to build wealth. Mm-hmm. We've put in a lot of work, we've learned, we've built a relationship. So if we can create wealth, if that's what we're good at, then let's do that so we can pay for the people that are good at going out and serving on mission trips or going and busting up sex rings in Mexico. Let's be able to freaking fund $120,000 for them to do that. Yeah. So that's our gift. If your gift is going and actually doing the work, then maybe the income's not as important, and your time, your impact with your time is.
Yeah. Both have impact though. That's the point of it, right?
Yes.
Like both of them have impact. But and I was agreeing with you that money is a stat. It's not the end all be all stat, which I think is what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's in baseball, you have the batting average, you have on base percentage, you have strikeouts, you have walks, you have so forth, so on. You have all these stats that are there. But at the end of the day, it's also, did you win the World Series? Like this is okay. I got to hit this with you, and I'm over time, but I'm gonna hit it with you. Because you kind of said, I think we said something about it earlier today, but then I moved on past it. And we were in my office, my buddies were talking about being a bandwagon fan, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not a yearly bandwagon fan. I don't bounce around year to year. But I choose my teams on, do they win? By win, I mean, do they win the national championship?
Yeah.
Do they win the World Series? Do they win the Super Bowl? And obviously, I don't mean every single year, unless you're Alabama. Come on. But
Clemson.
I know. But the reason that I cannot be a random ass supporter of a team is because I look at it and say, you want me to give you my time, come to games, watch your games. You want me to give you my money, buy tickets, buy food that's overpriced, buy hot dogs overpriced. You want me to post about you, market you for free. You want me to do all this stuff, buy jerseys, buy swag. You want me to buy all this stuff from you, but then you don't want to win.
Yeah.
You ain't going to win. And I have this hard problem with saying, well, then why am I going to give you all of my time, money, energy, and support when you don't even win? Now, I'm not saying you got to win every year, because I understand that that's the way it works. But some of these guys are like fans of teams that haven't won in 50 years. It's like, bro,
it's rough.
You're cheering for a loser. And as an investor, business owner, if I was losing year after year after year, I lost. At some point, I might say, this may not be for me. I may want to go do something else. That's my whole viewpoint on why I cheer for winners on sports teams. because I expect you to produce, I expect you to win, and if you're not going to win, why am I going to give you all of my time,
See, on the
money,
flip
energy,
side of
etc.?
that, I'm usually an underdog guy because I relate.
Yeah, sure, they have the
I
underdog
relate, yeah.
story, but you're a Clemson fan. You are no longer an underdog.
No,
you're no
but
longer.
Dabo
You might be a
came-
Gamecocks, but you'd
but
be an underdog.
Dabo came from being an underdog, so I can relate to that. I was with them through the grind of being, 6-7 when we played and lost to freaking whoever it was, Western Carolina, or I don't
Yeah.
even remember. Like, I've been to those games, so I've rode that bus, and I still typically relate with the underdog as long as they're not playing my team.
Your
you know?
team?
Yeah.
No, I totally get it. I just have this weird philosophy on sports teams that I'm trying to get out, but honestly, it's not going anywhere. But I'm trying to get it out, man. Dude, I love having you on the show, man. You're one of a kind, and again, dude, get on social media. As much as you hate it, go do it.
Yeah.
I hate saying this to you, but I think you owe it to entrepreneurs out there that need someone like you as a voice and as a kind of a role model of from nothing. I mean, there's another backstory behind you prior to firemen and military of upbringing, and I think you can relate to a lot of people and influence a lot of people or impact a lot of people, man. So hopefully that goes. You guys watch this show. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you go to fueled.org, check him out, and watch what he's doing in a town near you. And you got the virtual side coming out as well. And I heard you got a book you're working on as well. We'll hit that one a little bit later. All right, guys. We'll see you next time on The Money Is Show.